Welcome back. Vice President Kamala Harris's running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, said during a 2010 debate that plans to increase the retirement age and adjust the cap on Social Security withholdings was similar to his approach. The Harris campaign is now walking back those comments, claiming that Walz does not support raising the retirement age and that he wants to shore up Social Security by having the super wealthy pay their fair share. Under Walz's leadership, Minnesota has the highest corporate tax rate in the United States. He's got the third highest capital gains tax and the fifth highest top income tax rate. Nearly 50,000 people left the state between 2020 and 2022. There's been a 20% increase in prices since the start of Walz's tenure. He's also got a very rare 16% death tax in Minnesota. Walz also has a history of pushing aggressive climate policies. That's why he needs to raise taxes to pay for his climate agenda. He supports a law requiring the state's utilities to get 100% of its electricity from carbon-free sources by 2040. Joining me now is New York Congresswoman Claudia Tenney, a member of the House Ways and Means and Science, Space and Technology Committees. Congresswoman, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. What is your reaction to the policies out of the Minnesota governor?
Well, thank God I don't live in Minnesota, but unfortunately I live in New York. So it's even worse when you see that he self-proclaimed that he was a socialist. One man's socialism is another person's neighborliness. You know, he thinks this is the way that to go for the United States and for Minnesota. You can see exactly the trend that Minnesota has. Just like the trend that New York has. We have the highest out-migration because of our taxes, our aggressive regulatory regime, our free state status. I mean, we are the least friendly business state. Minnesota is moving in that direction. New York is a great model not to follow. It looks like now VP nominee Walz is doing the same thing. And he talked about that when he was a member of Congress as well. He was very far left and all part of this kind of communist/socialist type of candidates that we're seeing, especially when you see matched up with Kamala Harris, who is the most far left member of the Senate when she was serving there. So, and I say left of Bernie Sanders, who is openly, proudly a communist. So we're in trouble here with this ticket. We have got to double down, though, because the Democrats have always got process on their side, and we need to get double down on the process. We can't win on policy alone.
What do you mean, process? Tell me about that. Why do you think that they have an advantage on process?
Well, first of all, they've been actively engaged in this type of vote harvesting for a long time. You and I have talked about this in advance. There's been a misuse, a Hatch Act violation, I think, using our executive branches all over the country based on an executive order from Joe Biden that was signed in 2021. We saw, I think you've seen now the memo that came out from Susan Rice talking about putting together third-party left-leaning groups to get out the vote, to get votes, not only registered voters, get ballots in the box, looking at how they can make illegal immigrants potentially voters, how they can bypass our rules. And just look what happened in the House of Representatives. We had a bill that required proof of citizenship for voting, the SAVE Act. 198 Democrats voted against it, and Chuck Schumer refuses to bring it up on the Senate floor, and Joe Biden promised to veto it if it passed. So they are all for non-citizen voting. That is undermining our process and our system. They also, we discovered something recently, their money fundraising online platform called ActBlue actually doesn't comply with a lot of the security measures that say WinRed and other forms are doing. They don't require what they call the credit valuation number, that little CVV number that you have that verifies. We've seen extensive reporting of anomalous type of donations, beyond what FEC is looking at. I wrote a letter to FEC demanding that they investigate, and if they have, give us the data. What did you come up with? Because fundraising is a huge advantage the Democrats are having as well. So all these things the Republicans have to be on top of. Not only do we have the policies that we win on, but that's not going to be enough. They're going to win on this process, which is exactly how they won the 2020 race.
Well, that's just incredible. Do you think that the RNC is doing enough in terms of ensuring that illegals are not voting? I mean, already, Michael Whatley put out a tweet the other day talking about the voter rolls, that he's been cleaning up the voter rolls. I mean, what else needs to be done? And isn't it up to the states? If you've got a Democrat governor running, a state, are they going to be as aggressive in terms of getting off illegals from the voter rolls?
Well, look, they've done it. Some of the states have actually done a pretty good job of doing that. And it's a really good point, Maria. How are we going to get into these Democrat states, which are promoting and supporting illegal immigrants voting, which do not clean up their voter rolls? It's been a problem on the election integrity side for a long time. Not only do we have to clean up the voter rolls, and we've seen some states doing it, surprisingly, some states that are, either split Democrat or leaning Democrat are willing to do that. And I've always made this case in New York City. They cheat each other in primaries. They care about election integrity down there, not when it comes to a race against a Republican in upstate. But I think in the end, we have to, what I call, make voting great again, because it's a nonpartisan issue. It's actually a tripartisan issue. Everyone cares about one citizen, one vote when you get down to it, unless you're really trying to cheat the voters. So I think that state by state, we're doing that.
You say that, but they just disastered the SAVE Act, and Chuck Schumer won't bring it to the floor. So.
Well, that's a national. So remember, the SAVE Act that's a proof of citizenship. We have a lot of reforms that have coming through. We have a lot of good states, state governors, attorneys general who are working on that. But this has got to be a district by district kind of action. We can do this in upstate New York, Maria. I'm in a district where we were very vigilant in 2022 and actually after my horrible election of 2020, the pandemic election, where we saw all the irregularities. We actually went out and actively looked to make sure that our boards of elections were on top of things. And so surprisingly, the local boards actually do a decent job when they're given the resources. Yeah. But this is what we've got to look out for. Are the Democrats in Democrat states going to starve these local governments and the state governments from having the resources they need to watch what happens at the polls? Because this is the key thing, Maria. Once that ballot gets in the box, you can't turn it around. You can't take it out if the system is going as it should. But you're seeing, what do we see in Minnesota recently under Governor Tim Walz? We see that the ballots have actually a designation, the absentee ballots, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. If you have an unsavory character working at the Board of Elections and they see a ballot that's marked Republican, which is, by the way, illegal and undermines election integrity, I wouldn't be surprised if that ballot ends up on the floor. And that's what we have to watch. For every little angle, the Democrats are on top of this. And it's going to come down to the swing states. Yeah. Last time, 44,000 votes decided this election in those 3 critical swing states. We have got every vote. We've got to make sure that we have unity in the party. We have no room for error right now because of this election process.
Well, I mean, look, the illegals is such an important point, and Vice President Kamala Harris is going to be campaigning in Phoenix today, but she's not going to visit the actual border. This is where all of the, gotaways are going into Tucson, Arizona. She's going to Phoenix. The border crisis impacting every state, including yours, New York. An illegal Venezuelan migrant with suspected ties to the Tren de Aragua gang from Venezuela is being accused of committing more than 22 crimes in New York City in just the last 6 months. He has still not been deported. He remains in ICE custody in Buffalo, Congresswoman. What can you tell us about this?
Yeah, look, this is outrageous, and I can't believe that we're actually keeping him in custody in New York State, because the policies of New York State are very similar to Kamala Harris's record. And Tim Walz, by the way. These people are about weakness and appeasement, and then they're taking advantage of it. Taking advantage of the fact that they have a lot of non-citizens who they could get their ballots in the box. Taking advantage of the fact that New York State, all the states around the country are paying for all this. We pay for this, and yet they're not concerned about our safety or security or our election integrity. And these are the issues that we're going to face in the next 88 days or whatever we're down to here.
Of course it is. All right, Congresswoman, we'll keep a spotlight on it. It's always great to catch up with you. Thanks so much.